I recently travelled along the stunning Sea to Sky highway from Vancouver to Whistler. In this video I'll show you 8 great places to stop and things to do along the route. The Sea to Sky Highway, or Route 99, runs between Vancouver and Pemberton, which is just north of Whistler, and it takes you from the stunning coastal scenery to the impressive mountain ranges around Whistler and Pemberton area. The route we'll look at today is around 130 kilometres long, and every single kilometre is absolutely stunning. We had just spent 3 weeks on Vancouver Island exploring the island, and if you want to see some of my videos from the things to do in Vancouver Island, then check out the link above. So our journey started in the morning. We left the island, so we travelled from Nanaimo over to Horseshoe Bay, which is in West Vancouver. It's from Horseshoe Bay that you'll join the Sea to Sky Highway, or Route 99. Our first stop is only a 26-minute drive north from Horseshoe Bay, and it's Porteau Cove. This is a great place to stop. Here it's got a really big parking lot. You can see there's nice benches, you can sit in some, grab some food. There's toilet facilities, fantastic views of Howe Sound. You can also walk out into what you can see here, this old ferry terminal, which has a few elevated areas, really good for capturing stunning images. There's also camping available. There are cold water taps to fill up your water bottles. But be aware that things like the cold water taps and the toilet facilities are closed off during the winter season. Pit toilets are, however, still available all year. Stop number 2 was a 12-minute drive further north, and it is Murrin Provincial Park. Again, access just off the highway, lots of free parking available. You also have pit toilets available on site, as well as a nice picnic area. This park centres around a lovely lake, Browning Lake, and things to do include there's lots of hiking opportunities. You can obviously, if the weather's good, you can swim in the lake, you can fish if you have the permit, you can kayak, canoe, etc. So lots of things you can do. For us, it was just a nice place to get out and just, again, taking the scenery. There's lots of picnic benches, for example. Some of them have barbecue attachments, so, you know, on a nice evening you could stop here and cook your meal on a barbecue, for example. Stop number 3 was only 4 minutes up the road, and it's Shannon Falls. Once again, as we noticed from our time in Vancouver Island, all of these facilities in British Columbia seem to have really good parking, really good picnic areas, toilets, even though it might just be pit toilets. So once again, Shannon Falls was the same. Something really impressed with when our visit to Canada. Again, access just off the highway. Here you can see there's a small sort of souvenir shop, and you get your sort of first glimpse of the falls only a short distance from the actual parking area. This stop is somewhere you could spend a bit more time at. As you'll see from this sign here, well, you'll actually notice stop number 4 is on this sign. But there's a lot of trails. There's a lower viewpoint, an upper viewpoint, so you could easily spend a couple of hours here. Stops 1 and 2 really good for stretching your legs, stunning scenery, use the facilities. This stop is first of the actual attraction sites where there are, you stop there to see a particular attraction or a site. So this is the lower falls viewpoint. It's around 10 minutes from the parking area. It's a nice gentle gradient, good underfoot. And you can see, like many of the waterfalls in this part of the world, they are quite impressive. If you want to hike to the upper viewpoint and get a bit closer to the falls, and I've tried to show here that it is quite a steep climb. There are a lot of steps. Some of them are uneven, so if mobility is an issue, I wouldn't recommend it. Certainly, it's sometimes more tricky coming down than going up. If you are able to get to the upper viewpoint, then this is the view that awaits you. You do get a bit closer to the waterfall. However, the lower viewpoint as well as the upper viewpoint does show the waterfall and show you how impressive it is. It's well worth visiting. Stop number 4 is the Sea to Sky Gondola. You may have noticed in the sign at Shannon Falls you can actually walk to the Sea to Sky Gondola base. They are literally just a 1-minute drive apart. This is the first stop that's actually a paid attraction. I will put a link below that gives you various information on the Sea to Sky Gondola, ticket prices, etc. Also, if you click the link above, I do have a separate video on a more detailed visit to the Sea to Sky Gondola. To visit a site like this, you do actually need good weather to obviously see from the summit. We intended to visit on the way up to Whistler, however the weather was quite poor, so we actually visited on the way down. So again, with any of these sites, you can visit them on the way to Whistler or on the way back if you're heading back to Vancouver like we were. Now this attraction is somewhere you could spend a lot of time at. There are so many things to do. They obviously vary during the winter season and summer season, but there's lots of trails. If you're feeling really fit, you can actually hike to the top of the gondola. It's going to take you about 3 to 5 hours. However, you can take the gondola car and it takes around 10 minutes. They can hold a maximum 8 people. When we visited, it wasn't too busy and I was just there. We had a car to ourselves, myself and my wife, and we noticed quite a few people just had the cars to themselves. So a really nice way to travel up the mountain. The cable cars are wheelchair accessible, so if mobility is an issue, that's not a problem. You can get up to the top of the mountain. And before long, you'll see the Sea to Sky Highway you were just driving on away in the distance. It really is an impressive view. And once you reach the top, there are lots of things to do. There's a gift shop, souvenir shop that sells lots of sort of Sea to Sky Gondola souvenirs, some clothing. There are lots of different options for food. If you want sort of barbecue food, there's a cafe, there's burgers. So there's lots of different options for food. And one of the best things is the seating options you have. So you've obviously got an indoor seating area because it's not nice and sunny like this, I'm sure, every day at the top of the Sea to Sky Gondola. However, the outside seating on a day like this, as you'll see, does give you a stunning view as you enjoy your food and drink. In terms of prices, we found the prices sort of reasonable for what is a popular tourist attraction. One thing to bear in mind, certainly this establishment, it didn't accept cash, it was only card. I'm not sure if that's the same for the other food establishments or food outlets. And the views from up here are simply amazing. If you're okay with heights, there's a 100-metre long suspension bridge that has a drop below several thousand feet. Like many of these places, certainly in high season, they can get quite busy. People like to take their selfies, but you can see it is an impressive walk over this bridge. People aren't just walking over this bridge just to cross the bridge. They're also trying to get to another viewpoint, which you can just see in the distance there. But don't worry, if you're not a lover of heights, you can still access this viewpoint from another route that you avoid taking the suspension bridge. Once you're over the bridge, you can pick up the Spirit Trail. So this is what I was referring to earlier. This is one end of the Spirit Trail. If you access the other end of the Spirit Trail, it still takes you out to this same spot, basically the other side of the suspension bridge. I do hope you're enjoying this video and you're finding it useful. If you are, please consider hitting the thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. I will be adding much more travel related content. And down here is the other vantage point or viewpoint that I was referring to earlier. It does give you a really good view of the mountains and the lake, but also looking back across at the main sort of gondola building. So that's the second sort of main viewpoint. But along this little trail, there's also viewpoints like this, which gives you a great backdrop again of the mountains. So like I said, there's numerous trails you can go on depending how fit you're feeling. This one, after you've been across a bridge, the Spirit Trail is only 250 metres. It's relatively flat, and like I say, you can access from either way depending if you want to access the second viewpoint via the bridge or not. So a really nice sort of trail, just takes about 20 minutes. There are certainly a lot of things you can do at this stop depending how much time you want to spend here. We spent about 3 hours, however you can spend a lot longer. You'll find a lot more detailed information in my dedicated Sea to Sky Gondola review video. What I will say is we would highly recommend a visit here. We both really enjoyed our visit to Sea to Sky Gondola. And then it was back on the road for a short 7-minute drive to stop number 5, the town of Squamish. We stayed here overnight, and if you're fans of the Netflix series Virgin River, you may recognise some of the scenes here, because sometimes this series is filmed in Squamish. And if you're fans of that series, you'll also enjoy stop number 6. Squamish is located roughly halfway between Vancouver and Whistler, and it has a reputation as being an adventure town. There's lots of activities you can do here, both in the summer and the winter. Unfortunately, we only used Squamish as a stop for the night. We arrived quite late and left quite early next morning, but it's definitely worth stopping to visit the town. Stop number 6 was an 11-minute drive up the road, and this is Watershed Grill. Fans of the series Virgin River may spot that the Watershed Grill is actually used for the exterior scenes for Jack's Bar in the series. This stop was a bit trickier to find. It's actually hidden from the road, but when you do find it, there's a small car park area just opposite side of the road. Cross the road, and in 2 minutes you're at the riverside, and obviously then you'll see Watershed Grill. It's a great place to stop, and as you can see, the views are again quite impressive. We then continued our drive north towards Whistler. The next stop was a 30-minute drive away, and it was Brandywine Falls. Access to this one just off the highway, again free parking, pit toilets on site. To reach the falls takes around 15 minutes. You cross this bridge and then you turn right. Underfoot conditions really good. It's a relatively level walk, so I'd say accessibility, if you have mobility issues, wouldn't be an issue reaching Brandywine Falls. It was the first waterfall I visited in British Columbia that I had to cross a railway line to get to, so that was a bit different. Here you can see you have different options. You can hike to a suspension bridge, a bungee bridge. However, we just hiked to the falls. So after a sort of 10-15 minute walk, the view is definitely worth it. If you continue along the trail for a further 100 metres or so, you'll get a second viewpoint of the falls. And again, if you carry on another sort of 5-minute walk, you'll eventually reach a third viewpoint, which gives you a stunning view of the valley below. Then it was back in the car for a short 10-minute drive to our final destination before we'd actually reach Whistler, which was the train wreck. Here there are lots of trails you can take. There was free on-site parking. However, I never noticed if there's any toilet facilities available. It may be the case there are, I just didn't spot them. The trail itself to get to the train wreck site is relatively flat. It's a bit narrow in places, and it is shared. We met quite a few sort of mountain bikers as well, so just be mindful of some of the sort of sharp bends, and you can meet cyclists obviously using the track as well. Just more for if you're visiting with sort of young children and know how they like to run ahead. To reach the train wreck attraction site from the car park takes around 15 minutes. Along the way you'll find information signs that tell you about the history of the train wreck site. And before you actually reach the train wreck site itself, you'll cross over the train wreck bridge, which is this really nice short suspension bridge. Just in the area beside the entrance to the bridge there are a couple of picnic benches. This is a really nice bridge, and as you'll see in a second when I pan round, it's just over a fast flowing river, and it's just a really nice spot to be in the middle of the forest. The train wreck site itself is just something really quite different to do. The history: back in 1956, several train cars were derailed, and the logging company dragged the cars off the tracks and left them in the forest. In 2011, local artists started to paint the damaged train cars and create murals, as you can see here. And since then, it's become a popular tourist attraction. So something I would definitely recommend a visit. It's a 15-minute hike to get there, and it's just in the middle of the forest. It's just a really nice sort of spot to be. And then it was back onto the road and a short drive to our final destination, Whistler. If you're a keen snowboarder or skier, then you may know that Whistler is a top winter sports location. Whistler also held the 2010 Winter Olympics. During the summer season, the skiers and snowboarders are replaced by the mountain bikers. We really enjoyed our stay in Whistler. Very clean, very friendly, lots of nice places to eat, bars and hotels, lots of just sort of open areas you can just sit and just enjoy the nice weather. So overall, I highly recommend a visit to Whistler. There's lots to do in Whistler, and I guess you could use it as your base when you've driven up the Sea to Sky highway and explore the surrounding area. Most of the areas around Whistler are limited access for vehicles, so really easy, really safe for moving around. Once we arrived, we pretty much just parked the car up and just travelled around on foot. Thanks again for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.